The old man reached for a loaf of bread with shaking hands. Before he could place it in his basket, a younger man snatched it away and laughed. "You should worry about paying your bills first, Grandpa." A few people chuckled. Others looked away. The old man didn't argue. He simply lowered his eyes and quietly reached for another loaf. The younger man blocked him again. "I said leave it. Maybe the shelter has leftovers." Silence settled over the grocery store. Everyone saw it. No one moved. Then a soft voice broke through. "That's enough." The young man turned around. Standing behind him was a girl who couldn't have been older than 23. Her grocery basket held only rice, eggs, instant noodles, and a single bottle of cooking oil. She wore a faded supermarket uniform beneath an old sweater, as if she'd come straight from work. She wasn't intimidating. She wasn't rich. She just looked tired. But she didn't step back. "You heard me," she said. "Leave him alone." The man laughed. "And who are you?" "No one important." "Exactly." He smirked at his friends. "You think you're going to save him?" She glanced at the elderly man. His hands trembled so badly that he'd stopped reaching for the bread altogether. She turned back. "I'm asking nicely. And if I don't?" Without another word, she took the loaf from the younger man's hands, placed it gently into the old man's basket, and stood between them. For a second nobody breathed. The bully's smile disappeared. "You've got some nerve." "Maybe. But at least I'm not picking on someone who can't fight back." A cashier quietly called for security. The younger man scoffed. "Forget it." He shoved his cart away, muttering insults as he left with his friends. Only after they disappeared did the girl face the old man. "Are you all right?" He forced a smile. "I've had worse." She noticed something then. His shoes were polished. Old but polished. His coat had been repaired several times by careful hands. His groceries were basic, yet everything was neatly organized. Nothing about him suggested carelessness, only quiet dignity. When they reached the register, the cashier frowned. "I'm sorry, sir. Your card was declined." The old man's face changed. "Oh, I must have made a mistake." He searched every pocket. Another card. Declined. A little cash. Not enough. The line behind them grew restless. Someone sighed loudly. Another customer whispered, "Just put some things back." The old man stared at the groceries. He slowly picked up the bread. "I don't really need this." Then the milk. "I can do without." "No." The girl stepped forward. She emptied nearly all the money from her own wallet onto the counter. "I'll pay." The cashier hesitated. "Miss, that's almost everything you have." "I know." The old man looked horrified. "You shouldn't." "It's all right." "No, it isn't." She smiled. "I've eaten noodles for 3 days before." He stared at her. "You don't even know me." She shrugged. "I know enough." His eyes glistened. As they walked outside carrying the bags together, he stopped beside a bench. "I owe you." "You don't." "I insist. You can repay me someday by helping someone else." He smiled in a way that looked almost painful. "My wife used to say exactly that." She noticed the wedding ring still resting on his finger. "You miss her." "Every day." Neither of them spoke for several seconds. Then he surprised her. "What about you?" She laughed quietly. "I'm still figuring life out." He nodded. "No family. My mother passed away when I was 16. "I'm sorry. My father left long before that." He lowered his head. "So you've been alone." "Mostly. And yet you still spent your grocery money on a stranger." She smiled. "I guess I couldn't pretend I didn't see you." He looked at her for a long moment. "What is your name?" "Emma." He extended his hand. "Arthur." They shook hands. Neither realized that a black luxury sedan parked across the street had watched everything. Inside sat a man in his late 30s wearing a tailored suit. He hadn't stepped out. He hadn't interrupted. He'd watched every second through the tinted window, especially the moment Emma paid for his father's groceries. He quietly told the driver, "Find out who she is." Emma forgot about Arthur after that day. Life had no room for fantasies. Her apartment rent was overdue. She worked mornings stocking shelves, evenings serving coffee, weekends cleaning offices. Every dollar already belonged somewhere before she earned it. 3 days later, she arrived at the cafe where she worked evenings. Her manager rushed over. "Emma, what happened? A customer requested you specifically." "Me." She looked toward the window. Arthur sat there with 2 cups already waiting. He smiled warmly. "I hope I'm not disturbing your work." She laughed. "You tracked me down? I remembered the logo on your uniform." She sat for 5 minutes during her break. Those 5 minutes became 30. Arthur wasn't the kind of man who dominated conversations. He asked questions. He listened. Really listened. When she admitted she'd once dreamed of studying architecture but couldn't afford college, he didn't offer pity. He simply asked what buildings she liked. She talked with unexpected excitement. He noticed. Before leaving, Arthur handed her a folded piece of paper. "My phone number." She blinked. "You don't have to call. But if life ever becomes too heavy." He smiled gently. "Don't carry it alone." Weeks passed. Emma never called. Pride wouldn't let her. Then one evening her landlord knocked. "You've got until Friday. I just need another week. I've already given you 2. After he left, she sat on the floor trying to figure out which bill could wait. None of them could. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. "Emma." "Yes. It's Arthur." She smiled despite herself. "How did you know I needed someone today?" "I didn't." He paused. "But I'm glad I called." They talked for almost an hour. He never asked about money. He simply made her laugh. When they hung up, she realized it was the first time she'd smiled all day. Meanwhile, inside the headquarters of one of the country's largest technology companies, executives sat around a polished conference table. A man entered. Every person stood instantly. It was the same man from the black sedan. Daniel Hayes, founder, CEO, billionaire, Arthur's son. His assistant whispered, "We've confirmed everything." Daniel nodded. "Tell me." She works 3 jobs. No criminal record. Medical debt from caring for her mother. Excellent references. Never accepted charity. Daniel looked toward the city skyline. Exactly as father described. His assistant hesitated. "Sir, why are we investigating her?" Daniel answered quietly. "Because in 30 years of success, my father has never called me impressed by someone's character." Arthur invited Emma to lunch the following Sunday. Instead, a black sedan picked her up. She froze. "I think you've got the wrong person." The driver smiled. "No, Miss Emma." They arrived at an enormous estate. Emma nearly asked to be taken back. Arthur greeted her at the door. "I owe you an explanation." Before she could respond, another familiar face approached. Daniel, the billionaire she'd seen countless times on magazine covers while waiting in grocery checkout lines. Her eyes widened. "You?" Arthur smiled. "My son." Everything suddenly made sense. The car. The investigation. The confidence hidden beneath Arthur's quiet manners. Emma stepped backward. "I should leave." Daniel spoke immediately. "If you leave now, you'll spend the rest of your life wondering why we invited you." She stopped. Arthur placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "Stay." Lunch was surprisingly ordinary. No business talk. No discussion of wealth. Just stories. Arthur told embarrassing childhood tales about Daniel. Daniel rolled his eyes like any son would. Emma laughed until tears formed. For the first time in years she felt like she belonged somewhere. After dessert, Daniel became serious. "My father lost faith in people after my mother died." Arthur looked away. Daniel continued. "He started going out alone. I didn't know why." Arthur sighed. "I wanted to remember what kindness looked like." Daniel nodded. "Most people ignored him. Some insulted him. A few tried to take advantage of him." He looked directly at Emma. "You were different." She swallowed. "I only bought groceries." "No." Arthur interrupted softly. "You protected someone's dignity." Silence settled between them. Daniel slid a folder across the table. She frowned. "What is this?" "A full scholarship." She stared. "I didn't apply." "I know." She looked confused. I don't understand. Daniel smiled. My company funds education for people who change lives. I didn't change anyone's life. Arthur reached across the table. You changed mine. Tears filled her eyes. I can't accept this. Why? Because then it feels like I was paid for being kind. Arthur smiled proudly. Exactly. Daniel leaned forward. So don't think of it as payment. Think of it as trust. We're investing in the person you already proved yourself to be. Emma looked down at the folder for a long time. Finally she whispered, I'm scared. Arthur laughed softly. Good. She looked up. The people who aren't scared usually stop growing. 3 years later, Emma walked across a university stage to receive her architecture degree. Arthur sat in the front row. Daniel beside him. Neither cared that cameras surrounded the ceremony. Arthur applauded louder than anyone. Months after graduation, Emma designed the first community center funded jointly by Daniel's company and Arthur's charitable foundation. It included free tutoring rooms, affordable childcare, and a small grocery pantry for struggling families. On opening day, reporters gathered around Daniel. Why this project? He looked toward Emma instead. Wrong question. The reporters turned. Daniel smiled. The better question is why someone with almost nothing chose kindness when everyone else chose comfort. Emma shook her head, embarrassed. It wasn't a big thing. Arthur chuckled. It never is. She glanced toward the entrance of the pantry. Fresh bread filled the shelves. For a moment, she remembered an old man reaching for a loaf while strangers laughed. One choice. One ordinary afternoon. One decision that cost her nearly everything she had. She had thought she was saving a stranger from humiliation. She never imagined that stranger would become family. And she never realized that the richest gift exchanged that day had nothing to do with money. It was the simple courage to refuse to look away when someone else did.